Right.
Okay, well, I suppose the first thing we might as well talk about is this goes function that we're having a nice little get-out discussion on. If anyone hasn't been following, this is issue number 1121.
Go.
Link in the comments. Get in the group chat.
Okay, first off, Steve, what were you suggesting?
Basically the same thing that Albert was suggesting. That we should just include all this in units, and we don't need these individual functions.
Well, the question is whether you can actually implement it that way.
I think you can.
For units, I tried, and for units, I get maybe you can change the AstroPy how it works, but it gives you an error when you try to obtain a letter instead of a number. But still, you need the function.
It doesn't make any sense because the ghost class isn't a unit; it's a quantity.
No, ghost class is a unit.
No, it's not. It's a quantity.
No. I think it is a representation of a quantity of watts, blah blah blah. So
it's a quantity. It's not a unit. So we can't implement it as an AstroPy unit because it's not a unit. It's a quantity.
If we could handle strings, it would. Sorry, this is really hard. If we could handle strings in AstroPy quantities, then we should be able to implement it exactly as we're talking about. Ghost class would be both the unit system and an actual measured ghost class would be the quantity.
There is no unit.
Terminology.
The unit is not per meter squared.
Meter is the unit, but the number of meters something is also the quantity.
The ghost number x1.1 is a representation of a floating point number. It's not the representation of a unit.
I disagree. It's a unit.
No, it's a number with a unit. It is not a unit.
Well, regardless, I mean, the question is, can we somehow implement something like this?
I don't think you can do it. AstroPy doesn't support what you're asking it to do.
It fails. It crashes. I tried.
It's because of the physical separation between units and quantities in AstroPy.
I still think, Stuart, this is the distinction here is you're using a language perhaps more formally than we are, but it is entirely possible to treat ghost class as a unit.
My point is that in AstroPy there is a there's a difference in the code between a unit, which is meters with no number attached, and quantity, which is
you have to define a new unit called ghost class.
The unit will be ghost class, exactly.
That's not a unit. Well, I suppose it is a unit, but it's directly equivalent to watts per meter squared.
No. Just like an erg is 10 to the minus 7 watts, you have a ghost class is 10 to the minus 49 watts per meter squared.
Okay, sure. But AstroPy quantity doesn't pass string, so...
Okay, that's a technical limitation.
Is there anything else that anyone can think of where you'd want a string in some sort of like representation of a quantity, or are we kind of the only ones?
I don't know if a star, like I was thinking in spectral of the star, like be my fine girl, kiss me right now. that has also letters and numbers, and they may have that as a representation of temperature and a spectral class.
Yeah. Well, but the spectral class is not really a unit.
It doesn't convert nicely.
No.
Those classes are very rigid unit system.
Yeah. It's a silly one, but it is one. Well, I mean, I guess as it currently stands,
it can't be done, and I can't see AstroPy changing it.
The closest thing you could do for us would be to do it in terms of we'd have 4 units. You'd have 5 units. You'd have goes class A, goes class B, goes class C, goes class M, and goes class X. You can convert a watts per meter squared to its numerical representation in goes class X units.
Yeah. But what? Can't we just add custom representations to units? So you would have watts per meter squared, but I want my custom. I can turn on a custom representation where it would print it out as, you know, X, whatever, and it would be a representation, right? As opposed to you would subclass a unit that you define of watts per meter squared, and then you would code up your own representation, you know, underscore represent, and they would basically act just like a unit normally, as you would expect, but it would print out. I guess you would want underscore string. It'd print out like a goes class. Is that something that is possible in SunPy? Right, because you don't actually want the X whatever in any other way, but just to look at it, right? Like behind it, you just want, you know, 1 times blah 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 watts per meter squared.
Yeah, and it depends on what level you can code to, like, bin. If you want to bin for everything in a certain code class.
Yeah.
Try to feed that way. I mean, then you still need a conversion function to go the other way.
But as long as you can grab the string, yeah, right. Well, oh, yeah, you want the conversion function to go the other way too. Okay. Well, I guess
I think that representing a unit in some derivative of watts per meter squared called goes, you could probably do that using SunPy, but seeing how we'd need a function to convert in and out anyway, I don't see the point.
Yeah. It's just strange because this will break our units everywhere type thing.
No, because it's still a function that you get a unit out or you put a unit in. It's a string to unit function. That's all it is.
Yeah.
Well, it's a quantity to string conversion.
Yeah, the floats will be quantity. Yeah.
Yeah. I guess I would vote for we accept what is there currently until we work out how we could do this a little bit better with unit, if at all possible.
The unit handling needs to be, both of those functions need to accept or return a quantity. That's all that needs to be for it to satisfy the SEP.
Yeah. I mean, unless somebody says that x 1.0 is technically a quantity, in which case, but it's returning it as a string.
It is a quantity, but it's a string representation of the quantity, whereas the SunPy quantity class is only a numeric representation of something and a unit. The SunPy quantity is defined as a number and a unit.
Yeah.
And you can only have string representation, actually thinking about it, you can only have string representations of units and not of numbers. So to make the SunPy quantity to the correct string representation to work, we'd have to do Albert goes A, goes all the letters unit thing to make it work, because it wouldn't work otherwise. It can't be done. The SunPy system is not designed to handle this at all. It's because it's crazy.
I agree with you there. It is crazy and weird that we use goes class. Yeah, okay. Well, I'll give this my +1 so we can move on.
That's a spirit.
Well, it's not clear how we move. I mean, this will form the basis of some further thing if we decide to go with it, right?
I think David's comment at the end of that source about what do we do if it's smaller than A, I think return none is the correct answer, because it cannot be validly passed as a string. Also, we should...
Do A 0.
Say that again?
Yeah, the convention is you just go A 0.1, you start using floating point representation. number.
You do what? Sorry.
You just start using floating point for the prefix. So 0.1, A 0.1 is perfectly valid.
What?
A 0.1 would be 1 order of magnitude below A.
Is that real?
Yeah, that's a standard. I've used it. I've published papers with that.
It's a fully understandable.
With a 0.1 flare. Shoo.
Yeah.
Yes, I will do that.
Fraction, but
Yeah.
yes.
And actually, you've seen was it X14 or X20?
X28.
X28, right? That
It goes the other way too.
goes the other way. Yeah. So that's how you extend it.
I saw somewhere there is also a set.
What?
Have you ever seen that? No, a flare with a set value, but I think like X100 is defined somewhere to be set.
I've never heard of that.
I think you're talking crazy.
Yeah.
Looking for it.
So, but currently this function is incorrect because it will take in an X-ray flux when it should take in a unit.
Yeah, that's I have that almost done. I will push it.
Yeah, yes. Drew's function, the string input one returns a quantity, but the reverse doesn't accept a quantity.
There it goes. In Wikipedia appeared the set class, but it says citation need. So
Could you post the link to that? Oh,
yeah,
there
it's
it
in the
is.
chat.
Because I'm curious. Citation needed. So X100.
Exactly, that's what I said.
Okay, so we move up past this topic.
Yep. Please.
A half hour on it.
Okay. Rajul,
Yes, that's good.
go.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So I will give a demo about the Jenga SunPy browser database browser plugin that we have been developing for the past 2 months as part of Google Summer of Code. Hello.
Yep, go ahead.
Yeah. So first of all, we can find the plugin here. Like if we go to the Jenga SunPy repository of mine, my fork, at github.com rajul-iitkgp/Jenga SunPy. There you have to check out my new work branch. Go to Jenga-SunPy and go to global plugin. And to run this plugin, if anyone wants to, he needs to copy this file sunpy.py. He will have to go here. First of all, Jenga needs to be installed, and sorry. Go to your /home/Jenga. Where's my Jenga? Jenga. Create a directory plugins. It would not be there if you haven't created it earlier. Create a directory here. I have a lot of files here, and copy the file and just here. You won't need anything else. Create a directory plugins inside .jenga, and copy this file sunpy.py in here. We will package it and create the functionality that you just need to do setup.py, and then you will be able to all good to go. So now when you have copied that, then you just run Jinga double hyphen modules equal to SunPy, the name of the file. So here the Jinga opens, and l- on the top right corner you see a tab called SunPy. This is our database browser. So you provide the database parameters. By default, it will show SQLite and it will show SunPy DB, and it will create this database by default. If you uh, uh, click connect, it will create it
Do
in
you
the
want to
current. Yeah. Hello.
share your screen, would you?
Oh, okay. Okay. I haven't shared my screen. Okay. Sorry. Sorry. So I will start. I'll begin from the start. First, we go to my fork of Jinga SunPy to like at github.com/rajul-iitkgp/jinga-sunpy. Here, you check out this branch, new work branch. Inside, you will find this Jinga-sunpy folder. In here, there are two folders. One is local plugin, the other is global plugin. Initially, we started developing the local plugin. It is in here. However, we have shifted to global plugin and plan to keep this now for permanent. So this global plugin now contains two files. One is sunpy underscore q table view. This is something I'm working on right now. But this one, sunpy.py, is the current functional one. So what you will need to do is clone this thing, take this file sunpy.py, and to run it right now, you'll need to go to your home directory. Inside there will be a .jinga folder. Go inside the .jinga folder. In here, if you are using it for the first time, there won't be a plugins folder. Create a plugins folder and copy the sunpy.py in here. I have a lot of files here. You might not be having them, but create this, copy the sunpy.py here. And to run it, you go to your terminal and you just type Jinga minus minus modules equal to SunPy. For a global plugin, we type modules. For a local plugin, we do plugins. So for this one, we're doing modules. We will later on package it, and you won't have to do anything for this. You will just have to type Jinga minus SunPy, and it will be good to go. So when Jinga opens now, it will have a tab called SunPy on the top right corner. When you click it, you see this. So this thing, it has got three frames. One is my database parameters, then these are the options, and then this is one which contains various action buttons. So these database parameters, it will like, since any database URL, it takes four parameters in SunPy: the database driver, the database name, the username, and the password. Since SQLite databases won't be needing username and password, these are for the ones when we are using MySQL or PostgreSQL, something like that here, which will require a username or password. So by default, we will have filled in value SQLite or SunPyDB. Then we come to these options. There will be one default wavelength which will by default be selected as angstrom. We needed this because some of the files, like the ones we got from EIT, those needed a default wavelength to be passed along, and those FITS files that we obtained from EIT did not explicitly had default wavelength specified in the FITS header. Then you can set the current database as default. It will edit in the config, and you can have an option like show start entries only. So first of all, you fill in these parameters, click on connect. So I will just click on connect here. The database is now connected as SQLite SunPyDB. You can add file to this database. Click on this, file window opens up. You add some FITS files. I'll go add, say, some, like I had added files earlier, so I can go around, see, view database, but you can go around and add some files. Here, this is showing my database as a table. This will have things here. we have different columns, one ID, then the file location, but sorry, the file name, then time start, time end, instrument, wavelength, and then whether it's a start or not. So when you click on any of the row, so this file opens up. Click on the row, then AIA renders, right? Uh, I don't know why it rendered that way. Yeah. So click on this, then we have the EIT rendering. Okay, it is requiring double click for proper zooming and all. So that way, you see that there is a functionality that you can star some values, some entries inside the database. So like when I click on this, say this is not starred. So when I click now, it is a start. So like I can do something like this, like show only starred entries, and when I view database, so it is only showing me my starred entries here, and and uh, and much of that. You can open another database, like open a database. So like suppose I've got the SunPy DB here, which I was creating, which is apparently the same database. So you can go select a SunPy, select a SQLite database here, and this will create a URL to that. This is in SQLite /home/Rajul/SunPyDB, where I have this location of this. When I view this database, um, this one is the same database. I've selected only the same SQL file, but it would have been other. Suppose you add some file to the database. You go to your fits file folder, wherever it is. I'm going to use the SunPy demo sample data folder. Okay, SunPy, and sample, and I take this file for example. So when I view this file now, I have got this swap file, but when I close my Jinga window, this won't be persistent in my database. So what I need to do is commit this change to the database, so now it will be saved in the database. That's how the database module is developed. So that that much. One Then these are the top level search boxes where I can type information and filter out results. This is in development right now. Like if I type something, say I type E, so the problem with it is that it's just refreshing the entire channel. And there is a thing like that is one development defect that I'm working on currently, and hopefully it will be fixed within 1 to 2 days. I That is what is there in here in this file. The other SunPy SunPy Q table view. I've by mistake used the wrong widget for that thing, so I'm not able to refresh the table. So I'm trying to migrate to this new widget view, Q table view. So hopefully that will be done, and I'll be able to filter inside my database soon.
What happens to the database, or it's just filtering the list that you load before?
Sorry, David. Yeah.
Are you, like, when you search in the little box, are you requiring, are you filtering the database itself, or are you just filtering the list that you have on the display?
I'm on the top search boxes, they are actually performing a string-based matching only within the column, and then they are filtering it based on that. What we have in mind is to develop a separate query interface which will like take advantage of the query function that is in the database, SunPy.database module. But for now, it is just doing a string matching. I will show the function. Wait.
Yeah, it's doing David is doing a string matching function on the not on the database. It's doing it on the loaded data.
But the loaded data is the entire database. It's loading everything in the database.
Right. So it provides you some quick searching. That's why it's so fast. If we were to do actual queries on a database, then it's a little bit slower. But what Rajul was talking about was to offer you can do more complex queries using database queries, and so there will be some interface to let you do that.
Yeah.
Cool. Thank you.
Yeah.
But what happened to the color tables that?
They somehow vanish sometimes.
That involves you have to get that to work. You have to boot the Ginga plugin through my wrapper script, which is currently not working because he's just changed it from a local plugin to a global plugin, and I haven't made that modification yet. So I will repatch that and make all the packaging work. I was just looking at doing it now, but for some reason it doesn't work on my desktop PC, so I need to get my laptop on. But yeah, it's fine. Come back.
Just querying the database here, like we can have the this query interface we will have. David will take advantage of this, like this database.query.
Yeah, that way you'd be able to filter based on much more complex things, and especially there's a lot of information in the FITS headers which are not columns in the database, but if you had the query language, then you'd be able to filter however you wanted with whatever header values you wanted.
Right.
We could implement a header search relatively simply because it's quite an interesting special case. We could just have a text box somewhere which allows you to do a simple header string search. That would be much easier to implement. I think probably the full-blown querying interface will have to be a different project. I don't think Rajul has time to do that. Because if we do that properly, we can also use it for, if we do that properly and make it work intelligently in a way that it actually searches through the namespaces of the SunPy package to query what attributes are available to do the search, we can also basically turn this into a GUI interface for searching all our supported web clients with Rishad's unified DAO. So I think potentially next summer in a follow-on project to this, we could turn this into something really quite flippin' awesome by implementing a graphical representation of our query language. I think that's probably closer to a whole project on its own than it is a 3-week job. Thanks, Rachel. It's awesome. It's really coming on.
Thank you. Good presentation. Is there another student slated to present at this meeting? I remember last time there was 2.
I don't know whether Pritish wants to do it, or do you want to wait till next week?
I'm not exactly ready yet, am I?
Well, I mean, it works as long as you're assuming you're on Earth, so you can still show off the API if you like. Or if you want to prepare it, you can do it next week, I don't know.
I think it's better if I prepare it.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, we'll do that next week then. It's fine. There was something. Okay, do we have anything else anyone wants to bring up? No, apparently not. Okay, we can go PR bashing then if you like. Steve, is your time format one done?
My mic is back online.
Okay, I wanted to say something. I switched to using Anaconda. It's good. I think I can now say that we can give up on Python XY on Windows side.
Yay!
Good. There is two things that need doing from that perspective. One is fixing the Ana bug, which isn't specific to Anaconda, it's specific to Windows.
Right.
And the other one is we need to build an open JPEG Conda package so that Anaconda users on any platform can use our JPEG 2000.
What now?
So Glimmer, our JPEG 2000 library, requires a compiled version of the Open JPEG library, which is a C library that actually does the JPEG 2000 I/O.
Right.
Because Conda is its own isolated environment, including all binaries, we need to write a Conda package for Open JPEG so that you can use that C library inside Anaconda.
Okay.
That's a good face, Albert. I approve. It's not actually that hard. I doubt it would be that hard. It's just a case of having all three platforms available to test it on. There is a GitHub repo called Conda Recipes. I've just found the AstroPy repo.
Hey, if we're gonna do that, why don't we should have just SunPy available in Conda.
Yes, we could. If we're going to build one package, we can also build a. Well, no. Okay, so this is where it gets more interesting. So we can write a script for. We can write. We need to write a build script for OpenJPEG, Glimmer, Suds, and SunPy. We can then, if we had the machines available to do it, we could then build and distribute binary versions of all of those 4 packages for all supported Anaconda platforms and provide them through BinStar, which means that the binary versions of those packages would be installable on the end user's machine. However, what we would need some kind of build system on all platforms for that to work, because we have to build our own binaries, which we do not have the capability to do.
Yeah.
So the easiest way to do it is, because OpenJPEG is a relatively niche thing, is if we provide a recipe for building the package. Users who wish for it then have the ability to build a Conda package themselves locally from source, and then can install SunPy with the OpenJPEG stuff available on top of it. There is this repository of Conda recipes, which contains many a build script.
Is that the kind of official Conda recipes?
Yes, and they are generally open for pull requests to that. So we can write build scripts for all our packages and dependencies, all of those 4 packages, and submit them to that repo.
Yeah.
And then it is a case of a couple of commands for a user to build one of those packages. But Continuum Analytics are actually developing a continuous integration system to be attached to BinStar, which is their Conda binary distribution platform, which would allow people like us to build binaries, save them on BinStar, and then distribute them to people. However, they have not yet decided whether they're going to make that service free or not.
Yeah. Okay. Sounds like a project.
If someone wishes to take that project on, feel free. Now.
So that you're building already the list for the next Google Summer of Code?
Pardon?
Are you building already the list of projects for the next summer Google Summer of Code?
That's not a Google Summer of Code project. It's a weekend hack. I just don't have weekends. Or
Then
weeks.
put it on the list for the next sprint.
The ANA wrapper is a bit more than a weekend project, but that also really does need doing. We need a Siphon wizard for that.
Imagine we are done with this part. Do you have anything to say about that, Albert? No. Yes, your original question. I think that's ready. My time format code is fine. Sure.
Okay. Anyone else? Any opinions on pull request 1116?
Please give me +1s. +1s!
What is
I
the
was
default
going
time?
to make one comment on this actually.
Oh, goodness.
At the end, you didn't put any default time, did you?
I'm sorry?
There's any default time format?
Yeah. It's in the, yeah, it's the default one. What do you mean?
Oh no, I was looking at a different file, sorry.
Okay.
How is our working directory built under platforms that aren't Linux?
Oh, the .SunPy directory?
No, not the .SunPy directory. What defaults to home /SunPy under Linux.
I don't.
The folder that is set by the working dir flag in our config file.
Is it me or Steven is just saying
Steve's gone.
Actually, can you hear me now? Yeah, you can.
Yeah.
What I was saying was on Windows, it comes out as C users AYC SunPy. That's the working directory.
Yeah. Okay.
So, is that a specific comment about my PR or?
It was a general comment with a specific. But yeah, okay, it's fine. Is the working directory docs?
Wait, say it again, Stuart.
There doesn't seem to be a section on our working directory in the documentation under the config files section.
Saying there's something missing in our documentation? That's crazy.
Yeah, I mean this PR is not addressing those other kinds of issues. Fortunately for me. Unfortunately for some
Yeah, it's fine. Probably spawn an issue for it, but otherwise I'm good with this pull request. Any objections? Speak now. I have a whole job pieces.
Yeah, so everyone knows what we're talking about. There's now a time format in the config file. So
Oh yeah, what's the default, right?
it's
No.
ISO whatever without the T. Without the T.
No, put the
You
T
don't
in
want
the
the T.
No, put the T in the middle.
No. It's not readable. This is
But it
not
is
meant to be
correct.
parsed by machines. You do not need the T to know the difference between the date part and the time part. This is meant to be human readable times. Human readable.
This is only used for output.
This is only output, yes. Only output. Only for looking at. For humans. Humans.
So is it used anywhere when it's saved to file?
No.
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 So it's only used for printing to screen.
That's right. That's the point of this default. Only for human consumption.
Over the Z.
Where do you say this?
Where do I say this? Hopefully I say it.
It's in the config file.
Yeah, it should be defined in the config file. Yeah. In the config file, I say this specifically it's for displaying time and output, graphs, for example. And then when I describe it in the dev doc, I actually don't say anything. I just added some code that says check the config file if you're gonna need some global config.
Okay. I will allow you to live.
Thank you. I appreciate that. So for all other developers, I've defined, the whole point of this PR is I've defined a time format, a default time format. It's in the SunPy RC file. If users don't touch it, then that's where it gets read from. It's currently essentially the ISO 80. It's like the FITS file time format, but without the T in between the time and the date. If you are displaying times, read in that config and use it. Users will be able to customize it to their liking by using their own SunPy RC file. So that is all.
Doesn't it have the trailing Z?
No, it doesn't. And actually, well, the trailing Z is only if you're in UTC, right? Which I can't assume that we are in UTC.
Yes. No. Everything passed by. There is an implicit assumption that everything passed by passtime is in UTC.
Okay.
It's very implicit though, but it should be that is the case. Because we have no time format handling anywhere. The assumption is that it should be in UTC everywhere. So for instance, the JSON client works in Thai time, and I added conversion to UTC for everything else.
Yeah. Well, I would suggest that become a larger issue, and possibly an SEP about how we handle times and time zones.
That is solved by using AstroPy time.
Right.
Everywhere.
Which we haven't migrated over to yet.
No. That is probably the biggest reason to move to AstroPy time, because the AstroPy time objects encapsulate that information and deal with all conversions between all of the different standards.
Right. So I would.
AstroPy time is probably a GSOC project for next year, kind of a level of involvement required to do that.
Yeah. So the Z shouldn't be there right now because, for example, if somebody wanted to create a time range in a different time zone, it would currently display with the Z regardless of what time zone they were using.
Yes.
So.
Yes. I agree that the Z shouldn't display, but there is an. I don't think the Z should display for the same reason that the T should display. But there is that implicit assumption that everything in SunPy is actually in UTC. We should probably dock that somewhere.
Yes, I think we should. Yeah. Okay, unfortunately, I have a 1 o'clock meeting, so I'm going to have to go. Are there any other questions for me about this or anything else?
Don't think so. Jack was up next in the firing line. Now he's back.
Good luck,
Jack.
Talk to you guys later.
See you, Steve.
Bye-bye.
Thanks. Your Matthew PR needs love, but you probably know that.
Yeah, I can fix that. It's very simple stuff.
Man, there are no pull requests here that have gone green and actually can be merged. This is terrible.
That makes our job easy.
And on that bombshell, I hereby call this meeting. Unless anyone has anything else they wish to add. Jolly good.